Hello everyone, welcome back once again to the World of Madness server. So, last time you saw us take on the dragon, and oh boy, did my armor get quite a beating, and my tools, and everything else, and just hoi. No. We've now got Mending. In fact, we didn't manage to find... We found a few items that had Mending inside of the end, but we didn't actually find a singular Mending book in the end. So, I then took it upon myself to spend basically an entire evening at a nearby retreat that just happens to be next to the Harvester. I did initially just go searching for it, but eventually it turned out no. Monkey and I went, I think, combined probably somewhere in the region of 30,000 blocks. And we could not find a single librarian that was able to sell us Mending books, because that is basically the only other way to get them. But there has been a small village over here since before I even started building the Harvester. This is World Gen, of course, so this is ages old. This predates all of my Hubris work. So, I tore down a few of the buildings, and I set up this handy little domicile, where we have villagers breeding aplenty. Now, these are all mostly clerics, and one cartographer, and then farmers, and I think there's a few fletchers and a shepherd or two in here. But these guys are all just for getting emeralds, because we go around back, we have the creme de la creme, we have the nitwits. Now, the nitwits, by the way, are the green-robed villagers, who formerly you could cheat in, but who... Okay, XP, I'll take it. Who formerly could actually, do stuff, but are now actually the only villagers that have 0 trades. So I might put them to use at some stage. But no, the guy that's back here that we're interested in is this fellow, because he is our librarian that actually sells useful stuff, like Fire Protection 1. You just can't find that these days, anywhere. You also have Lure Free, and of course, Mending. And then for 21 emeralds, you can reset the things with a name tag. Name tag's pretty handy anyway, so yay. So, my plan is to move this guy, as well as a number of other fully unlocked librarians, over to the Harvester. That can we see that from here? We used to be able to. I think my I think being in vanilla has squashed my render distance a fair bit, so we're not quite able to do that anymore. So we come back, we see here's all of them currently exposed into the nether. I need to put the other guy in here. The Mending guy needs to be in here, because I tried to push him in here before, and I came through, and he was nowhere to be seen. So my initial suspicion was that he'd suffocated in a wall somehow. And I was heartbroken. My heart sunk. And then I eventually found out he'd somehow managed to get out of the corral that led him from the box to the portal, and he actually just wandered around the other side, so he was fine. But we've now got Mending on our fortune pick, on our newest iteration of our digging pick, which is now Silk Touch, hence all of this stone. Haven't had to smelt a single piece of this, lovely. Also Unbreaking Free and Efficiency 5, which means combined with the beacon downstairs, it actually insta-mines, which makes things a lot faster. And I've also got it on all of my lovely pieces of armor, which are, let's see, Hat of Deep Lung, Protection 4, Respiration Free, Aqua Affinity, Unbreaking Free, Mending, and Respiration Free is not as high as it goes, but it's pretty high anyways. Aqua Affinity means that I can dig at normal speed underwater. We've got my Magnificent Chest, we've got my Mighty Legs, and then we've got the Softest of Boots. So they're Feather Falling 4 and Depth Strider 3. These aren't fully kitted out to Protection Max, but pretty dang high nonetheless. And I could, well, if I fell off this and actually hit solid ground, I think I'm still dead. But, nonetheless, and for a while, I've never had Depth Strider boots before. I think it does go higher than that, but Depth Strider 3 is what I've got, and I feel like it makes my motion in water actually a lot faster than on land. I don't think that's actually the case. It's just sort of a placebo effect, because I'm used to how slow you move in water. But damn, could I have used this armor set when I was doing the Guardian Grinder. Also, apparently all of my my mob farm projects must have alliterative names. Hence, the Guardian Grinder, and the Hubris Harvester. So, yeah. But, of course, there's another piece of loot that we got from the end, which is Monkey's Pride and Joy right now. So if I look in my toolbox, yeah, there's Fortune with Lucky Digs. I need to get that up to Efficiency 5. I don't need to, but I want to. But yeah, we have the incredible Flying Lung, which is our Mending pair of elytras. So because, if you're not familiar with Mending, I should probably alliterate on this. Mending is an enchantment you can put on. It's very hard to come by. It's considered a treasure enchantment. I think I actually have a book somewhere of Curse of Vanishing, which I don't know why you'd want it, but I have it. But Mending allows your tools and your armor and a few other things, basically, to repair based on the receipt of experience. Which means the Harvester is now the to-go place for a lot of people, because now that we have access to Mending galore via our librarian, we can repair our otherwise potentially irreparable items. So these are completely undamaged right now, but half of them have never actually been repaired. So consequently, I've got all these lovely enchantments, and I don't actually have to worry about them breaking, because I can just come here and wail on things. In fact, I might find a dog. That sounds a little incongruous, I know, but I might find a dog, bring it up here, and then just... I think it can move through these areas, much like the spiders at least try to. Maybe I can just trick it to teleport in there. But if I have a dog in there, then anything the dog kills counts as a player kill because it's a tamed wolf. So I think that might be a full AFK experience solution, especially since it should be able to take down basically anything in here. Maybe bar the witches, unless it gets them really quickly. Depends how quickly it can keep up, I guess. But yeah, so we can now fly around quick as can be. We have an unlimited, a functionally unlimited supply of gunpowder, so we can make all of the fireworks that we like. People have been raiding this recently, so it's a little more empty than we might previously have expected it to be. And I think the only other things that are kind of dying off are, yeah, string and rotten flesh is down to just over a chest, I think. Let's check the hopper back here. Yeah, wow. Ooh. So yeah, those two are kind of like dying off because people have been using them. The gunpowder to make fireworks and TNT, and the string and the rotten flesh to trade with the other villagers to get emeralds. But other than that, let me see. You might have noticed it when I was in here earlier. We finally have an actual rail system in the Nether here. So we've got this fancy system here, which is mostly flow control. This just ensures that someone going back doesn't interrupt somebody coming in, because the Harvester is a hot destination, of course. But I don't think this is as fast as it could be. I'll probably try and make it a little bit faster, but no matter what you do, it comes up along here, and we basically have a little station applied. Ooh, hello, gents, how are you? So I didn't put a rail all the way to the tomb, and I didn't put one all the way to the Guardian Grinder, because it's right there. There's not really much point having a rail that goes like 20 blocks. But this system here is basically just a D-latch, which is a form of memory circuit. So if I come down here, we can have a look at it in a bit more splendor-ish. Yeah, of course there is. Okay, fine. Holy smack. Is he despawned? I'm okay with this. Okay. I also got... There's one librarian in that pool, by the way, that has dirt cheap infinity, which I'll probably put on this. But anyways, so there's two parts of this that are based on detector rails, and the rest is buttons. But basically just over here, it's a little hard to see because of all the netherrack, I know. I need to put an actual, like, enclosure on it so that the ghasts have more trouble hitting it, that's for sure. So basically it's just a memory latch. You push a button, it toggles the latch, and that controls which way the piece of two-way rail is facing. Okay, straightforward so far, I hope. And, geez, there's so many of you guys. Nope, back in there. So if I push this, the rail points, no matter which direction you're coming from, it points back to the Nether hub. If I push this, it turns back off, and the only way that it can go is into here and then over to the actual harvester. Now, there's also a couple of detector rails, as I mentioned, and that just resets this so that when you push this, it doesn't stay in that position, because if it stayed in this position, then you would never stop here. You would just immediately go on to the harvester or back to spawn, which is most people's primary concern, but it's a little more useful for me if I can actually decide which way I go. And it is still quite a jaunt, but it's fine. We don't need to worry terribly much. So it's just a self-resetting system over there. Pretty sweet, I feel. Very compact. Not necessarily as clean as it could be. I could have dual rails going over to the Nether Hub as well, in much the same vein as this, so that to and from carts never intersect. Because again, high traffic zone now. This is the to-go place when it comes to getting your mending enchants, as well as to getting your experience for mending. So I'm expecting a lot of traffic here now. But other than that, that's the right way. Other than that, hasn't been terribly much development around here. I do have a ton of shulker boxes now, and I'm keeping an ender chest on me so that I can keep access to all of these. This is just my toolbox, and I've got another one which is gubbins, and I've got one which is just random loot that I happen to pick up. This is just full of building supplies at the moment. We've got both of these enchantings up and running. There's a couple of things I need to do. Up here, I think I need to put half slabs, at least on the top, because we are having a lot of mobs that just fall straight down to their death, and what I think is happening is that they're up there, they're jumping just as they come out of the water, and that's causing them to fall to their doom. So I need them to hit their heads, basically, so they're not as high up. But other than that, I don't know if I showed this off, but this is just a chest you can dump any items that you've happened to have accidentally gotten into your inventory, but there's also 12 hoppers around here for you to chuck them into as well, which also reduces the chance of you getting an errant item into your inventory. But also an unforeseen side effect of this area getting so much traffic now for XP purposes is that we're getting a lot of monster rare drops. So this is things like items that they were wearing or holding. And that's causing this chest to get backed up. Now there's a double chest there, it's fine, but I for some reason I get especially skittish about this particular chest getting flooded and full up and overflowing, so I've been trying to keep that empty. But we had both of these chests full of bows, a lot of them very much junk. So, and then I did this. Disposal. This is a trapped chest, so it doesn't empty anything out when it's open. But under that is just a pair of hoppers that very quickly empty this, and it just goes straight into the overflow line that everything else exports into. So, if somebody manages to fill this entire section of the system at the end, the miscellaneous items, it'll get into the overflow system. But if they're feeling altruistic, I would hope, they would come over, filter things out, and then just toss the junk into here, and it'll end up the same way, tossed into lava with expediency. Heal. Which I don't think we can quite make. We can almost make it out. That's the edge of it there. But for the most part, that system needs to be away from people because it is noisy, not unlike the sound of the minecarts over here. Which isn't very loud for me, but I think Monkey has his volumes turned up. But either way, you are usually far enough away to not hear it, or hear it very quietly, which is fine, I think. That's good. That's a nice quality of life improvement. Other than that, though, there hasn't been terribly much development over here. I've been very busy recently with projects wild and mysterious. I do want to get when we're actually finally done here, I want to put this beacon up here, probably in the back there. Just have it as like a sort of brain core or something. Some form of the organic matter I discussed in previous episodes, just clinging to the interior of this biomechanical shell. But the thing that I'm currently working on is actually capping off. Is it capping off if it's the bottom? I don't know anymore. But I'm working on capping off the bottom of this. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that it's coming in. And it, yes, absolutely would cut this bottom platform and half the wiring down here, I think, in half, if I had it come down to the same extent as up here. What I'm actually going to do is put a ring around here so that I know where to stop this particular closure, and that will enable me to then add on the body section of the harvester at a probably much later date, I'm afraid. But nonetheless, I'm going to need a lot more. Just mind where I step, because I'm very speedy. I'm going to need a lot more half slabs here. So, the thing that's been keeping me busy most recently, that'll do, is motion tracking, or more specifically, it goes by a few different names, but its official name, I believe, is match moving. Now, if you're not familiar, which I wasn't until about a couple of weeks ago, you might have seen me ranting about this on Twitter, because it is ridiculous how hard this is to get working. Match moving is my camera is turning to the right at a certain rate, my camera is turning to the left at a certain rate, my camera is up and down, pitch, yaw, roll, all that. And ideally, it is also the measurement of my camera is moving left, right, forward, up, down. So it's the full three-dimensional rotation and positional change that your camera is experiencing in a given piece of footage, which for an LP is usually a lot. And okay, I think I want to go to there, and I want to get 3 blocks out, and then 2, 1, 2, good. So yeah, for an LP kind of style piece of footage, what you're generally seeing is the camera moving around to look at numerous objects of interest as a scene unfolds. You're looking at it being some degree of movement due to just plain utility. I have to move to point my cursor at different parts of the blocks and such to know where I'm going to put a block. And I have to... I have to move my camera around as though I'm talking to just sort of like illustrate that things are being said, especially in the course of machinima and such. And that is really hard for a lot of programs, because the most common form of match moving isn't first-person footage. It's what's called a nodal pan. And a nodal pan is a fixed point that is rotating. So, for example, it's like one of my most cliche things inside of a machinima piece is I'll just have a thing, and then I will move it down and bottom to the right. And it's not even when I have it on F5, because then the camera is itself moving, even if it's moving around something which is fixed at the center. So, a nodal pan is like that. And another thing that also messes up a lot of tracking programs is a HUD. If there are stationary elements, so for example here we have my effects up there, we have my bar here, we have my item in the side, we might even have chat messages, that really messes it up. Because as far as a tracking program is trying to consider, everything that it sees is in the environment. But these are always in the foreground. So they're sort of between the environment and the camera. So the system doesn't like them. I need to pick up some more dirt, so I'm just going to hop into here. And you might wonder, why on earth am I so interested in getting this to work? The answer is cinematography, in short. My cinematography has been kind of limited for a fair while. The peak of it, I think, would be my June special series from last year, The Return. And I want to actually get even more complicated, get more variety into my pieces. So I want to be able to do match moving, because then I can put effects via programs like After Effects, which is not terribly cheap, but you can get it nonetheless for a reasonably affordable price, into three-dimensional space, and I can track them with the camera so that to the viewer, those effects appear to be happening inside of the actual footage that you're watching initially. So, for example, I could have intro sequences that appear to be aligned along a wall that I'm stood next to. I could have text pieces just hang around areas that don't have actual text applied to them. And I could do oh so many other really cool things that are occluded, which is to say parts of them are blocked out based on the terrain that I'm currently in. I could do really, really cool things like that. I could even do set extensions, which is to say that I take the existing piece of terrain that we have. So say for example we have this big border at the edge. I could use a set extension based on tracking where my camera is moving. I can reverse that to get footage that seems to be in the same place, and then I could put an image or another piece of three-dimensional object over there, and it seems to be always at the horizon. Just, there are so many possibilities, in short. But here is the caveat. Because it is a complex kind of thing, most programs will only work at all if I have my HUD turned off. And then they will only work on a nodal pan, which is what After Effects is more or less only good at. Now there's plugins for After Effects that you can use. So for example, there is Mocha, spelled exactly the same way as the caffeinated beverage, which will which will allow you to draw basically a frame, like a square. A mask is what it's called, but a box is what we'll call it for now, because that's, I imagine, a term people will be a little bit more understanding of. And it will then try to keep track of the contents of that box through different frames, so it can reposition the box and know how the camera's moved. And then you can take that data and export it back into After Effects. But there are so many of these. It's very, very slow, and I actually need to just get rid of this. And there's that Instamine. Gotta love it. Get rid of this so that I can put slabs here so it matches the roof. There we go. Kinda don't need to worry about losing the stone because it is worthless to me now, really. Loving it so much. A digging pick with silk touch is a thing to behold indeed. Okay, and there, right. So it's very slow, and it's very buggy, and in particular, it only really works if the object that you're tracking, the thing that's in the box, is in the footage all of the time. If it goes off the screen, so say for example I tracked the beacon down there, it's now off the screen. And if I look over here, it's now off the screen. If I turn around, it's off the screen. And at that stage, Mocha doesn't know what's going on, so it pretty much just goes wild. And tries to guess, and usually gets things that are very, very wildly wrong. So you can't really use Mocha for LP footage. These are things that I'm learning. I'm basically just going through a big long list of motion tracking softwares, and I'm trying to figure out what will work. And I'm coming up empty. Well, not quite empty. See, motion tracking, because it helps to sell visual effects so much. Because if you have a visual effect on a static shot, it pretty much just... It looks flat. It looks like a 2D kind of thing, because there's no motion to sell you that it's actually in the 3D space. So if I just had this, it's a 3D object, but it's flat. There's no dimension to it. So I could put text on top of this, and your brain would just convert it to a 2D image, more or less. And I'm going to be mixing in this. I'm going to be taking this stone base, and I'm going to be chasing parts of it out for prismarine and prismarine bricks and stuff, so it looks a bit more like it's interfacing with something, which is... So I'm currently just using the stone as a base. And I should sleep before anything nasty spawns on that, because whilst it's night, it can. Yeah. But yeah, so there are a lot of programs, high-end programs, that are used in the film industry, of course, to do match moving. And this is even though the film industry has access to extremely expensive camera equipment that can pretty much track its own motion and rotation already, which would be gorgeous to have inside, say, Fraps. But oh well. But because they're built for the film industry, they're built for a film industry budget. So, for example, there's a program called Boujou, B-O-U-J-O-U. and it has a trial version available, which is how I know it will do absolutely perfectly for my purposes. It also costs about £3,000. Yeah. Ugh. I'm wealthy in this game, but I'm not wealthy in that one. So, that one's basically impossible. But I know that there are people who have been motion tracking LP footage from Counter-Strike and various other things for years now. So I've been trying to dig up exactly how they've been doing it, or if they're using one of these programs, how they get a hold of them. And so far I've been coming up empty, but look out. Hopefully I will figure this out, and when I do, I have resolved that I will be doing a full-blown tutorial on it, because it's the kind of skill... I did a write-up on how I do audio cables to separate my audio from the game audio and anyone else's audio. But it's the kind of thing that I feel that the LP community and budding Let's Players in general could really do with knowing, because it will help them to up their game. And if I can help a few people make better content, then hey, that's magnificent. That's my job done, I feel. Along with entertaining them, first and foremost, of course. But you know, I do that quite regularly, I feel. But anyways, the plan is that I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to put a ring around the middle here so that I know where to stop this. And then we're going to start extruding out into the body, which I am currently trying to model in MC Edit, and then I can hopefully make a version of that at least that I can make block for block in here, which will be tedious nonetheless. I will do it. And then we'll have our portal. We might have to move the portal a bit, probably will. We might have to move around some of these chests, but that's fine. And then behind the portal, the other side of it, we'll have our sort of librarian nesting grounds, if you will. Our spot where we have the librarians just isolated and individually identified, so you know which one you're going to for what. So people can come here and have it be a one-stop shop for mob loot, for drops, for enchantments, for XP. Just have it be a wonderful, like, a hub location, if you will. But anyways, we're actually getting up to, wow, half an hour. I can ramble, can't I? So, with that in mind, hope you've enjoyed, and I'll catch you all next time.